Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. Well, the Indiana Research Center predicts Bloomington will be the fourth fastest growing metro area in the state by the middle of the century. City Limits reporter Mitch Legan discusses one of the ways Bloomington is dealing with that projected population growth: student housing complexes.
Kevin Burdishaw has lived in Bloomington for 50 years, and he's seen the city change a lot. And he isn't loving what he's seeing.
Like a lot of people I know, and a lot of lifelong residents I know, we're concerned about the concentration of population in downtown Bloomington, particularly in these big boxy apartment buildings.
Burdishaw says he misses the days when buildings throughout Bloomington had character similar to Harmony School, where he volunteers, and has become troubled about the city's decisions to tear down old structures in favor of big boxy apartment buildings.
A big shoebox is fine with a nice false front with different kind of patterns on it, but they all start looking kind of generic after a while.
He asked City Limits to look into the issue. Where did these large student complexes come from, and what is the city hoping to accomplish with them? According to census estimates, there are almost 85,000 people living in Bloomington now. Almost half those people are students, and they need places to stay. That's why we've seen an increase in multifamily housing since 2015, according to a recent study by the Regional Opportunity Initiatives, a group that studies prosperity in 11 counties in south central Indiana. According to ROI's recent housing study, Bloomington has added almost 1,300 multifamily housing units since 2015. And most of those multifamily units are occupied by students. When you compare that to the 150 or so single-family units that have been completed over the same time, it's clear there has been an explosion in student housing recently. Bloomington officials say the growth started in 1995, when the city approved a new zoning code to reinvigorate downtown.
We had what's called a downtown development opportunity overlay, which gave for increased density within certain areas surrounding the downtown so that we could get people down there, get businesses activated.
But as buildings were going up in Bloomington, the Twin Towers came down in New York City. Grulich theorizes that 9/11 might have actually pushed students from large coastal cities toward Bloomington and the Midwest, which parents thought would be safer from possible follow-up attacks.
These out-of-state students oftentimes had a little bit more money to spend on housing. They were used to higher housing costs, so developers were quickly realizing that they could build apartments, kind of high-end, top-end stuff, and they get a lot of return on their investment.
While out-of-state enrollment was already increasing in the late 90s, IU Bloomington added just over 1,000 out-of-state students in the 2 years following 9/11. Since then, IU has added about 360 out-of-state students each year. Grulich says developers just went where the money was, and the money's in high-end student developments. While that may be good for developers, Burdishaw wants to know, how does that help Bloomington's full-time residents?
Getting renters out of the core neighborhoods. So that reduces impacts to people that are living in those neighborhoods, and it frees up some of those housing opportunities for residents to move into what was formerly a student rental house.
Only time will determine whether or not that plan is effective. But Grulich says odds are downtown Bloomington will continue changing as its population continues to grow.
Bloomington has had a positive population growth for decades, and we're going to probably continue to do that. Certainly as a result of IU, but also Bloomington is an amazing place to be. Population influx leads to growth. You have to provide housing for these folks.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Mitch Legan.
As part of our City Limits series, we answer the questions you want to know about the past, present, and future of the Bloomington community. You can join the conversation and submit your questions by going to indianapublicmedia.org/citylimits.